Thank you for joining us here. My name's Gene Blackley and I'm hosting this room today. It's my pleasure to welcome you to another excellent session here. I'm here because I'm a private investor and some of you might recognise me from 21st Century Education videos or seminars. And as a long-standing dear friend of Jamie's, he asked me to come and host part of the event for him. These days I have a private investment fund that's designed to bring hedge fund trading to investors like yourself, but I'm not here to talk about that. You can see me around today. Please come and say good day if you want to have a bit of a chat. But for now, let me tell you about what we're doing in this session. We had advertised this session as looking at particular investment strategies and techniques, but we're going to be doing something a little bit different with it. Peter Bland, how many people here have seen Peter speak before? People have read his book? A few of you, of course. So Peter Bland is a remarkable Australian, best described as a survivor. He is the first Australian to visit both the North and South magnetic poles. And what makes his achievement even more remarkable is the fact that his trip to the North Pole, where he carried a sled 700 kilometres across the Arctic ice sheet, was just 12 months after his second bout of major heart surgery. He also has had some pretty dramatic experiences in his adventures, some of which you'll see today. A man who's managed to pick himself up time and time again and overcome extraordinary physical challenges, mental and emotional challenges, which is probably, why he's so well qualified for what he's going to share with us today. Talking about how to control your mindset and how to influence and inspire the people around you. These days, Peter spends a lot of time working with small teams, both from a business background or in other parts of life, to help them develop their performance as a team or their capabilities as individuals. And along his remarkable journey, he's raised $14 million for charities in Australia and overseas, produced 3 documentaries, one of which has been turned into a miniseries by the ABC, and of course, his best-selling book, A Step Too Far. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy the next 40 minutes with Peter. So please, a warm welcome for a great Australian, Mr. Peter Bland.
This is National 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Injured Antarctic adventurer Peter Bland forced to wait for a family reunion.
You heard me talk about this last night. Yeah, a little bit of volume. Because I'm going to do both, play footage and talk to you.
The avalanche took him.
But last night, who heard me last night? Yeah, oh, that's okay. Well, I'm going to tell the story again. And who's heard me before?
A cliff edge down into a crevasse.
Why do I open up my footage, my story as a professional speaker with this footage, which scares me to my core? I fell 50 metres. I lay in a crevasse for 3 days. They thought that I was dead. When they found that I was alive, I told you this last night, but I'll repeat this. Broken bones in my leg, pelvis crushed, suspected broken back, all my ribs on my left-hand side broken, lost my voice, fractured skull. That's a joke. fractured skull. The voice is because of Jamie. I can tell you that last week. But the point of the story is, it's still relevant for me again to tell you my stories since the story, because we've all got a story, haven't we? We've all got a story. When did the story happen? In the past. Where does it live now in many people? Now. How prosperous is their prosperous future going to be if they remain holding on to that story from the past? How prosperous? Not very? Maybe little? Not much. Because the BS story from the past defines their future. So if, be it Gene or me or some other financial educator, puts in front of you some solution that can change your world, how likely is it that you'll actually go and get whatever extraordinary capital is required, or the deal or the option or whatever? How likely is it you'll get the means if you're still carrying on to the story? Not much. So listen, I know you've been pitched to many times this weekend. I'm not going to do that. I thought the best gift I can give you with the voice that I've got is to tell you some more stories. Because it was only through my friend who came to my hospital bed to tell me my stories that got me out of my old story. And it was only by getting out of my old story that I created a new story. And my new story had me back in love, back connecting with my children, back travelling around the world, back skiing the season in New Zealand, 173,000 vertical metres, thank you. It had me doing all those things again. But that story was in the future. And so what I do now, and the story and the script that I write, is to teach people to write their own script about tomorrow. But when do you write it? Today. I teach people to write their script for tomorrow, today. But I had to be taught to do this. So I'll take you back to where I was in the Avenue Hospital in Windsor. I'm there, 3 years gone past since this accident. By now, little Olivia, who's running around, where kids are you here? They're gone. No, they're gone. My kids have abandoned me. Anyway, they're up in the suite with Miss Universe, I think. Anyway, 3 years have gone past. Little Olivia, who's now 11 years old, she was 3 years old. I couldn't keep up with her. I'm pretty competitive. I couldn't keep up with Olivia. So because I'm so competitive, I thought I'd have some enhancements. So I got my hip cut out and I had a metal hip put in. 6 more months goes past. The hip's going well. I come home one day and I say to my wife, I say, baby, I've got a bit of pain around my hip area. And she goes, and she have a look, and she pulls out my tracksuit pants, has a look, and she sees a massive infection near my hip site. And she says, God, you got to go to hospital. I said, nah. I call the surgeon. He says, go to hospital. I say, listen, I'll be back in 3 hours. It's an hour's drive from Gisborne to the Windsor, an hour in there and an hour back. Anyway, 3 weeks goes past, and I'm still in hospital. And my doctor says to me, a physician, an expert in infectious diseases, and he says to me, Peter, I'm only your doctor, but tell me, is there something going on in your world? You're a fit, young, 28-year-old man. You're on the best drugs you can possibly be on, and I'm not being arrogant when I say I'm a pretty good practitioner with regard to infectious diseases. Tell me, is there something going on in your world that isn't sitting right with you? And I said, well, I was in an awful lot of debt. And I'm doing this network marketing, selling moisturisers and hair care products. Stop laughing. And it's killing me. And he says, you're not wrong there. I'm only a doctor, but if I was you, I'd be you. I'm only a doctor, but if I was you, I'd be you. So literally in the 25 minutes I've got to talk to you, I thought I'd tell you some stories that he told me. Some more stories that he told me. More than I told you last night. So I'm lying in this hospital bed, thinking I'm high-fiving because I think I've just signed up to my network, the 2 nurses who just gave me my drugs that morning. My mind was so focused on getting out of debt. Anybody know anybody whose mind is focused on getting out of debt? Yeah. I'll give you a tip. If you know that person, call them up, maybe tap them on the shoulder to say, listen, focusing on getting out of debt is not going to get you out of debt. Focusing on abundance will get you abundance. Yeah? But watching The Secret and going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This $10,000 bill is a check. Earth to universe, it doesn't work, okay? You can manifest a car park, maybe, but I give you the tip. You're trying to manifest wealth from holding onto a bill and turning into a check, it's not going to happen. However, it's the beginning. Hey, you guys thought you're sitting in the front row, you'd get more access to me, but I keep on walking up there. So I'll come back a bit, I promise. Oh, you like my view? Okay. Anyway, the point of the story is, I'm a giant show-off. The point of the story is that thinking about prosperity is getting there, but taking action is the rest of it. And sometimes you need a guiding hand to help you get there. Of course, I can offer my service as a guiding hand, but I'm going to tell you a story right now about one of the mentors that came into my life who guided me along. And he started to tell me some more stories. And one of the stories he told me was this. Again, I'm in hospital bed. I'm being coaxed to be me. I didn't need drugs. I didn't need more doctors. I needed to listen to my heart. You with me? And again, as a coach, you know every time I say the word I, I'm saying you. This whole story is you. Remember when you were sick and you got that cold, that flu, and you lay in bed or whatever it may be, you didn't need Codral, okay? You needed purpose. Purpose is what might be lacking in your life to get you that outcome you want. And right now in this story, I was lacking a lot of purpose because the only purpose I had was I got taken by an avalanche. I risked everything. A 10-month-old daughter, a wife at home, farm, all the debt, all the rest of it. You selfish so-and-so. That was my story. And I needed a friend to break that story. So, he says, Pete, didn't you go over to South America like at a university with nothing and go and got a job on the biggest sheep station in the world? And I start to listen up and said, yeah, well, I guess that's true. I mean, the truth of the story is I went over to South America. The only thing I could say, I did a crash course in Spanish. The only thing I could say was, yo soy de Seville, which means I'm from Seville, which I'm not. So it wasn't that helpful. But I went over to South America and I hitchhiked my way from Cape Horn to Colombia. And what an incredible journey it was. And as I went through Ecuador into Colombia, I met a guy who just crossed the Atlantic on a yacht, a 36-foot yacht. And I said, that's for me. I'm going to be a sailor. I'm going to sail boats around the world. Well, the biggest thing I'd sailed by that stage was a windsurfer, which I did a great deal of, hence the time it took me to get my commerce degree. But nonetheless, I came back to Australia and I said, I'm going to be a sailor and I'm going to sail around the world. I'm going to deliver people's boats all around the world. Well, that was that. The second thing was going on was my commerce degree. My parents, you know, it cost a fair bit to have a kid go through private school and a university degree. They were quite keen, we use the word keen, for me to get a job. I had no intention of getting a job because I was an entrepreneur. My friend had two business ideas. One was a brilliant business idea. Anyway, we did the other one. And the other one was a shortbread recipe. In a bygone era, you might know it. Hey, where's that water going? Thanks. Thank you. Oh, just the two? No, that's a joke. Oh, thank you. I've still got yours left over from last night. Well, we had this shortbread. In a bygone era, it was called McAlpin shortbread. You might know it. Anyway, it had gone bust, and we bought the recipe for $1. Well, bought the recipe for $1. We start baking these shortbread. Our tagline was, set the shortbread baked in history. I had a plan. Again, you know what I teach. At the end of all the day, what I'm offering is my service as a mentor and a coach, and I teach people how to write business plans for their life. The first business plan I have for my life was being forced to write a business plan for Set the Shortbread so I could get funding from Vic Business, you know, to get funding from the Victorian government for the story I'm about to tell you. So it was going all right. I'm baking these cookies and home and all the rest of it. We had that's the old homestead, right? And at the old homestead, 1852, our tagline was, set the shortbread baked in history. The only thing historic were the premises in which they were baked. Very historic. In fact, we had nothing. In fact, we're baking these cookies and we're selling them to the local deli. The local deli bought my box. I only had a box, so we're sold out. I go back to my friend, my partner, Cole. I said, Cole, we've sold out. We're going to have to capitalise. He was thinking money. And I was thinking washing machine. Because we used to have a dog on the farm called Lucky, which is ironic because he actually wasn't that fortunate. But anyway, old Lucky was very fortunate in my dad's lifetime because in my dad's lifetime, we used to kill sheep. You know, we're farmers. Kill the sheep, skin the sheep, and wash the sheepskin. And we used to wash the sheepskin and we used to line old Lucky's kennel like some western suburban Monaro. It was very plush, was Lucky's kennel. Anyway, Lucky had gone to God, the washing machine wasn't being used, so I went and got the washing machine, brought it down to the kitchen, put in the butter, the sugar, and the flour, and I found generally on a normal cycle, and you would get perfect Set the Shortbread every single time. So I'm pumping this out, you know. I'm pumping this shortbread out. It's going gangbusters. The local deli's buying it, go up the Calder Freeway, selling it all the way to Bendigo, come to Melbourne, start selling it there. Thinking this is all right. Myers bought it, Damaroo bought it, David Jones bought it, Hilton bought it, Intercontinental bought it. I approached the airlines, this is all right. This is what Mojo can do. This is back when I had Mojo. You know my message is Mojo. I mean, I'm inviting you to come to my farm on the 9th of December for my Mojo boot camp. This is back when I had Mojo, yeah? Before the story. And my friend is telling me my own stories to coax me out of my hospital bed at the Avenue Hospital in Windsor. Isn't it funny how sometimes in life you need a friend to coax you to be you? T.S. Eliot, great quote that I love. I shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of my exploring shall be to arrive where I started and to know the place for the first time. You see, coming home can be the best journey of your life. I'm hopeful that with guidance and help, be it with me or others, that maybe you can find your home without the scars that litter my body and the damage and the debris that follows me. This is one of my stories. So, with Mojo, what did I do? When I think, okay, that's all right. Well, I go and I sell to all these companies and they're buying and that's going good guns. Meanwhile, I'm doing all the offshore racing. I'm doing the Melbourne to Hobart and all the offshore racing and all the rest of it on the bay here. That's going all right. I'm thinking, what's bigger than domestic? Well, international. I know what I'll do. I'll take my company, my cookie company, and I'll export to Japan. Plus, I'll write a letter to every single skipper in the Melbourne-Osaka yacht race. That's the longest double-handed yacht race in the world. And they'll give me their multi-million-dollar yacht. I'm sure they will. And then I'll bring that boat back from Japan after I've sold my shortbread over there, and the Victorian government will sponsor me to go over there. So I've got a translator and all my airfares paid for. Well, that was my idea anyway. It all starts with an idea. Hey, Greg Norman. I didn't write this, Greg Norman did. What plan, achieve without achieving their goal just reeks of what makes great men. Determination, resilience, total belief in themselves, sacrifice, stubbornness, inordinate amounts of courage, and trust in their partner and teammates. Bland epitomizes a great quote. Your dreams are the blueprint to reality. No joke, the first chapter of my program is accessing your dreams, because in your dreams is where it's at. Well, here was my dream. So I go along to 28th level 101 Collins Street, you know, Macquarie Bank there. Upstairs you got JETRO. JETRO stands for Japanese External Trade Organisation. I go upstairs to JETRO. I go in there and I'm wearing a double-breasted suit. I say that specifically because it was actually a single-breasted suit. It wasn't mine. It belonged to a friend of mine who was larger than me. Anyway, I was borrowing a friend's suit, double-breasted, and I go in there and I do my pitch. And they look at my case and they say, yes, Mr. Bland, you have very good domestic clients, you have very good domestic clients and production. Yes, Mr. Bland, we will sponsor you to go to Tokyo Food Expo, the largest food expo in the world. One squashy, one small little thing. Mr. Takita, he come from Tokyo in 2-week time. He do inspection of your factory. That's all good. We sponsor you to go to Tokyo Food Expo. You know that Asian marketing, anybody done any Asian marketing at all? Yeah, a bit? It's all about face, not losing face. So I go, terrific, fantastic. I'll call you with the address. I'm pressing that 28th level button like, just quick, shut the doors. They shut the doors. I had my 5th midlife crisis. I go downstairs to a coffee shop on George Parade there, you might know it, called Il Solito Posto, which means in Italian the place to meet. And I go, George, give me Yellow Pages. Give us the Yellow Pages. I get the Yellow Pages and I go, A, B, Biscuit Factory. I find a biscuit factory on Flemington Road, Mount Alexander Road, Flemington, called Pace Biscuits, owned by a guy called Leo Pace. Sorry, my voice. Anyway, I go out there and I go, hello, Leo. You don't know me from a bar of soap. Can we pretend that this is my factory? He said yes. I don't think his English was that good. Anyway, I dash back home, I get everything organised. 2 weeks goes past, I drive my old Subaru DL86 wagon back to Mount Alexander Road. I park it out the back. I get out 2 boxes. There's a factory packing room as big as this auditorium. I put one over here on A3 right there, right? A3, that one. And one over here on B4, boom. I go at the front there after doing another crash course on Japanese this time. And I said, Hajimete, wakajishi wan blandes. Anybody speak Japanese? I'm fluent, I don't, yeah. Anyway, that means, nice to meet you, my name is Mr. Bland. Anyway, he responded in Japanese and said, I got no idea what he said. Anyway, Asian market, all that face, just smile. Just like the penguins on Madagascar, just smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave. So I'm just smiling and waving. 1 hour goes past and all I'm doing is smiling and waving. Anyway, we come around and he goes to the translator. He goes, what do machine? And I knew what the machine was. The machine was a mixer. But I couldn't take him over to show him the mixer, because if I took him over to show him the mixer, I'd have to introduce him to the people. And I couldn't introduce him until I introduced myself. And I didn't think that'd go down too well. Anyway, funny story about mojo and about opportunities and what you can create. But I ended up being a Victorian success story for exporting cookies to Japan. Sponsorship, Japan, the whole thing. That's Traveller magazine, the largest travel magazine in Japan. My cookies, there's my cookies, Settler shortbread, baked in history, baked in a washing machine. There it is, macadamia cookies, the whole thing. And then, again, when you be you, it comes together. It's unbelievable, because look at this. Antarctica, business, do you see the synergy? Do you see my best friend, you might know him, Richard, who's speaking tonight? It's a joke. Anyway, the point of the story is, do you see how you can combine business and passion? In fact, there is no distinction. It becomes one. And so all of a sudden, I had a second tagline for Settler Shortbread, which was this: Settler Shortbread, store in a cool, dry place. Antarctica, the driest continent on earth. So I did a whole ad campaign there. Anyway, the point of the story is this, and you won't believe it, but again, funny story. Where's my book gone? Oh, here. My book comes out, right? My book comes out. Pat Macmillan. It's being distributed through Borders, all the big bookstores. My former best friend, only because of this story, no, I'm joking. My best friend is going down George Street in Sydney to buy my book, my biography. Biography, get it? And he goes, Blandy, I'm going down to Borders to buy your biography. Tell me, which section is it in? The fiction or the non-fiction? Guys, I'll teach you to write your script for tomorrow, today, like it's a fiction. An unbelievable fiction with incredible characters and sex and stardom and whatever you want. Just write it. And it happens. But you've got to take action. And you need accountability next to you. And my friend was giving me that accountability to make it a reality. You see that? Yeah. So during that time, on the agreement to go to Tokyo Food Expo, I'm down at Point Lonsdale with my mates, looking at all the yachts going out for the Melbourne Osaka, Point Lonsdale, and Portsea, and all the yachts go out the heads, yeah? Yeah, obviously you do, you're not nodding. Are you nodding? Yeah, good. So I'm there at the heads, looking, and I said to my mates, oh man, I was gonna be a skipper on one of those yachts, bring it back from Osaka. You just wouldn't believe this. My mobile phone rings. I pick it up. This is a while ago. And it was Simon Kellett, the owner of a boat called Fast Forward, an Inglis 47, really sexy yacht. And he goes, Pete, I'm so sorry. I was so busy putting a new mast stepping a new mast in the yacht. Didn't get a chance to get back to you. Yeah, mate. Do you bring the boat back from Osaka? I go, sweet, done. Mate, you want to come? Yeah, you want to come? Yeah, good. Bang, sorted. Went over there, partied up, boom, boom, boom. Sold my shortbread. They bought my shortbread for Travel Magazine. And they say, Mr. Bland, when you deliver? And I say, about 3 months. They go, what? I go, yeah, I'm taking this yacht back to Australia. I'm going diving in Truk and Micronesia, and I'm going to the Whitsundays. My girlfriend's flying in, so yeah, be about September. Anyway, it's amazing. It's like last night, I told you guys to move forward. Just take control, yeah? Hey, the rest of that story about Storm and Norman. Storm and Norman, he's in the corridor. Colin Powell is stepping down as the chief in charge. Tomorrow is the Gulf War. And Storm and Norman says to Colin, what do you mean you're stepping down from being a chief of staff? The Gulf War is tomorrow. And Colin Powell turns around and says, Norman, when in command, take control. When in command, take control. Same metaphor, another story. My daughter Olivia, who's up there somewhere, she's riding a little pony called Nugget, cute little thing, about this big. Little Nugget, cute little thing, wouldn't do anything wrong. Daddy, 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 Nugget won't go left. Daddy, daddy, Nugget won't go right. And I say, darling, 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 it's never the horse. It's never the horse. You with me? It's never the horse. It's never the phone call which sends you into a spin. It's never the credit card which bounces. It's never the deal which didn't happen. It's never the boss who didn't give you the job. It never is. It's always the rider. And you are the rider. And if I was you, I'd be you. And if you being you is you being you, it's so sexy and so attractive that others will respond and they will beat to your run. They will dance to your beat. It's up to you to set the beat and to write the script. And that's what I teach you to do. Anyway, how am I going for time? I'm just telling stories. I'm not going to say anything, seriously. I'll tell you some stories. You like the stories? Yeah. It's how it is, guys. It's how I got to be. How many minutes have I got? I haven't even looked. Oh, 5 minutes, sorry. Okay, I better say something. No, I'm joking.
Everything's late. Everything's like go before you start
Yeah.
and finished late. So possibly that's an option for you as well.
Thank you for that. Okay. Well, okay. Good, but I won't do it.
It's fun.
But
You're not flogging. It's
No, I'm not flogging. But write the script. Well, look, I'll tell you what I'll do. At the end of this, I'm not going to pitch anything, right? I won't go pitch anything. Here's what we're going to do. At the end of all this thing, seriously, what you'll do is if you like what I do, and you don't know what I do, but I've had people drop 20 grand on me, right, of a weekend like Queenstown, and they're back with 40 because they're husband and wife, and they go, yeah, I'm with him. And I've heard them. And somebody said to them, yeah, he's incredible. What does he do? And they go, we don't know, but we just spent 40 grand with him, and we don't know what he does. Anyway, that's another story, but that was Antarctica. The point of the story is this, guys. I'll tell you one more story, and at the end of it all, if you like what I'm about, and if you think that maybe I can create business, and I can create wealth, and maybe love, and whatever you like in your life, and maybe you want a personal mentor in your life, then just put your name down, of name, email address, and mobile phone number, and over the next 2 weeks, we'll catch up, either face-to-face, coffee around South Melbourne, or a phone hookup. And then we'll just see where you're at. Maybe what you got from this event, how's it going for you? Yeah, if I can help you, I will. If you want to come to my farm, to my boot camp on the 9th of December, then you will. By all means, take the Mojo order form. By all means, read it. But let's talk about it in our session. Yeah? Is that good idea? Because I'll tell you one more story which comes out of this. That as a result of that, progression, you write your own script. So I brought that boat back from Osaka to Western Port. I delivered it on time in one piece. As a result of that, when Simon Kellett was up at the Victorian Yachtsman's Awards as Yachtsman of the Year, he was giving a speech. And in his speech, he thanked his delivery skipper. He thanked me. In the audience was Don McIntyre, and Don was putting expeditions together to the South Magnetic Pole. He heard the speech being given about this great skipper who just navigated this boat back. And he said, well, I need a navigator to go down to the South Magnetic Pole. And so because of that, I went south to the South Magnetic Pole. I went down there, I impressed a man greatly because I saved the expedition basically with my muscles. And because I did that, I went over to England, I climbed Wales with him, and I brought a mentor into my life. It's progression. What you need in your life is people around you who will support you when the going gets tough. Because will the going get tough somewhere between here and there? Yes, it will. And so it did. And that's me having a thoracic aneurysm. I'll never forget this day. I'm there between my crying fiancée and my crying mother. I wasn't crying because I'm so tough. And see, I wasn't scared of the operation. I mean, I'd been opened up when I was a kid. I had open heart surgery when I was eight years old. I wasn't scared of that. The reason I was so upset was because my dream was being taken away, yeah? And I remember the doctor saying, and I said, okay, doc, that's fine. Can you fix it? Can you fix it tomorrow, or can you leave it for 6 months? And he said, no, but why? And I said, can I borrow a piece of paper for a second?
Sure.
Just a random piece of paper.
Yeah, I'll just give you a blank one.
And I said, thank you. I said, oh, because I'm Peter Bland, and I'm going to be the first Australian to the North Magnetic Pole. Yeah, that's me. And I'd really appreciate it if you could, this is my brochure. I'm having 1,000 of these printed tomorrow, and I'd really appreciate it if you could have a look at this and knock that surgery over tomorrow. And he flicked it back, and he said, Peter, I don't know if you understand the risk of paralysis or the risk of rejection of the graft, but you're not going anywhere. Then I cried, and I cried, and I cried. So if you think you'd like to have someone in your life that can get you out of the tears, to take you from where you may be to where you want to go, then I'm suggesting that maybe I'm a good person for it, because I've been there. And I had somebody who was kind enough to me to come to my hospital bed in the Avenue Hospital and tell me my own stories. So even I started to believe them. And again, every time I use the word I today, I'm saying you. Because our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond all measure. Yeah, the speech. It is our light, not our darkness, which most frightens us. Yeah? There's nothing enlightening about your shrinking. Peter Bland is speaking right now. The point of the story is simply this, that the point of the story is your light. It's your light. You know those tears sometimes that come to your throat and you want to just scream, or you don't know what it is? It's actually your light that wants to come out. And you need somebody to help you get it out. Then I'm suggesting that Mojo is what you need. You need a good enema of Mojo in your life to change your world. Because I only got there because I had accountability in my life. Yeah? Do you like my stories? Yeah. I got heaps of them. But I'm going to end with my final story, which I just made it up because you mentioned that thing about being on time. And I'm on time, I think. Yeah, I've got 23 seconds. I'm giving a talk at Essendon Football Club, right, 10 years ago, and Barry Markoff from ICMI, International Speakers Management Institute, comes to hear me speak. And by the way, of course, part of the Mojo Bootcamp is I teach you public speaking. I teach you to do what I do, tell stories, metaphorical stories with meaning, parables, yeah, that have impact on people's lives, yeah, to be an inspiration, to inspire, aspare, to breathe breath into people's lives. Anyway, the point of the story is this. Barry comes to hear me speak. I speak, Essendon Football Club. I think, my God, I'm a rock star. I got paid $500. I'm a millionaire. I'm going to make it big time. And I go up to I'm like a puppy, like a Kelpie puppy, trying to work sheep. I'm just so keen. I want the best, whatever the best is. And I go, Barry, what'd you think? And he turns to me and he goes, Peter, I'll give you a 6. And I go, 6? 6 out of 10, 6 out of 100, 6 out of 10, 6 out of 100. What do you at? 6 out of, what's 6 mean? And he goes, nothing. He goes, has a sip of water, has a coffee actually. And he goes, Peter, I'll give you a 6. I go, what does 6 mean? He goes, Peter, do you know the difference between an entertainer and a lecturer? And I said, no, Barry. What's the difference between an entertainer and a lecturer? And he says, about $5,000 an hour. Entertain. So I'm done. This is my presentation of not selling to you, telling you stories. If you like me, what I do, then by all means, let's have a one-on-one chat sometime over the next 2 weeks, if not later on today. Put your name down, get an appointment, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks for your time.